Man, well, guys, WMA Universe, I noticed something this week. I noticed that, hey, you know what? I'm 43, I'm in my 40s, and it's like, I just really, I don't know, I found that I argue less and less and less. Like, I argue a lot less than what I used to, but I read a whole lot more. I find myself reading when I get up in the morning. I find myself reading when I go to bed. I find myself reading, when I just got a few minutes to myself. I choose to read. And I thought, why? Because when I was 20 something, I didn't read very often. When I was 30 something, I may have read every now and then. But, when I got 40, it's like all I want to do is read. You know, and I found that because I was in my gym this week. And an athlete, of course, didn't believe something that I was telling him. And, I'm saying in my head, I've been doing this for 25 years. I don't get it. I've been doing this since I was a teenager. Okay, you're trying to tell me that that's not what it is, and I kept telling the person it is. Person wouldn't believe me, so I pulled up the publication and I showed this athlete, hey, this is what it is, okay, and I told you it's what it is. You know, it's this generation. It's this 2020 generation. They don't believe anything, and it's like they're just argumentative. They don't even want to listen to what you're saying. It's like you have to like point the shit out to them, and you have to show it to them exactly where it says for them to actually understand what the hell you're talking about. It's bad. Like training athletes 10 years ago was so much more different than training athletes now. It's like night and day, cause they don't want to listen. They impatient, they impulsive, and it's like, okay, damn, what do I do? Like I have to figure out how to change with the times. And I found myself I read so much. I even have younger coaches. They've taken some of my information. They've tried to publicize it as their own. It's a couple of coaches, man. I done actually had to seek legal, like really take legal action against. I've had to do it. I'm doing it now because they're posting stuff on their websites that's not theirs. But then when I look at the age of the person, well, okay, the person is like 22, 23, and I start shaking my head. Damn. Do these people not want to do any work to help themselves? Like, do these millennials, these 20 somethings, do they not want to work for themselves? Like, I don't get it. No, but you're going to steal somebody else's accomplishments and pass them off as your own. Oh, man, I was hot. I was hot. But I say all of this because we look at the situation of Antonina Shevchenko ducking Gillian Robertson. Now, okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do exactly what I did with that athlete, okay? I'm not going to, tell a person based off my experience. We're just going to look at facts. We're only going to talk about facts. And it's no secret. I was in, No Filter MMA stream last night. And, I've got people on this channel that, don't like me for whatever their reasons are. Which I think is kind of stupid. You don't like somebody you never met online. But that's the sign of a mental illness. Like, straight up. And there's some people on this channel that I ignore. I don't really care to deal with them. I don't want to deal with them. And I stopped dealing with them for reasons, okay? And, it is what it is. Okay, and I feel like that there are people there that just want to argue. Like, not really, really, knowing that the facts are there, but they don't care. Because they really, truly, they don't like me. But let's look at facts. Let's really, truly look at the facts. And I'm not going to even talk about what I actually think. We're going to look at the facts. Okay? Here's the first fact. Did Gillian Robertson call out Antonina Shevchenko? That's a fact. It's irrefutable. You can't deny it. She did. She point blank, period. She called out Antonina Shevchenko. Okay? Did Gillian Robertson get a response from Team Antonina Shevchenko? Nope, that's a fact. She didn't. She didn't. Now, let's look at some other facts. Did Antonina Shevchenko get an offer to fight Gillian Robertson? Well, okay. Did they fight? They didn't fight. Okay. Now, that don't mean Antonina didn't get an offer. I mean, according to Antonina, they didn't get an offer. Okay, so I guess we have to just believe Gillian Robertson, but we can't believe Antonina. Gillian says, hey, we got an offer to fight. They reached out to Antonina. Antonina said no. Antonina, her team say, No, we didn't get anything. But here's the thing. See, that's neither here or there. In that situation, we don't know fact. The only fact we know is that Gillian Robertson called that Antonina. That's irrefutable. You can't even argue that. Okay, the only fact that we know is that Gillian Robertson called that Antonina. Let's look at facts. Now, second fact, Antonina Shevchenko was under a concussion protocol. You can't refute it. It's pretty much there. The information is out there now. Okay, that's a fact. Now, the word concussion protocol. Let's really break down and delve into what do we mean by concussion protocol? What's in a concussion protocol? Let's take a look. Okay, here you have a concussion protocol, and this is an article by former UFC CEO Lorenzo Fertitta, who, by the way, people are still arguing about this, and I'm like, folks, Lorenzo Fertitta is in the background, and he's still doing work. I mean, he's there. He's got an inactive role in the company, but he's still there. But people want to argue about any damn thing because they just want to argue. Okay, so Lorenzo Fertitta was talking about why his concussion protocol is better than the NFL's. So look, let's scroll down to what he's actually saying. Okay, I want to skip all this, all of this. Okay, all right, and we want to go to what is he actually saying about the concussion protocol. Okay, here it is right here. Okay, Lorenzo says, I think part of the difference here is that the UFC, that in the UFC there's no urgency to play. Okay, so he's already telling you straight up, if something happened to you, you go get well. If you happen to fight and compete, let's say the doctor says, okay, you have a concussion, you're automatically suspended for 90 days. Now, he wrote this article 5 years ago, or he gave this interview to the Washington Post 5 years ago. Okay, and you know that these concussion protocols, they still exist today. That's a fact. Okay, we're not going to talk in what I think. We're going to talk about facts. They exist today. Okay, you're automatically suspended for 90 days. That's a fact. Okay, no contact in the gym. Obviously, you can't compete. You can't fight, Fertitta said, adding that the enforced 3-month vacation gives UFC fighters enough time to heal the right way. This is Lorenzo Fertitta. Okay, the former CEO, the former head honcho. Okay, this is the guy. Okay, this was his task. Okay, he actually implemented this concussion protocol, and now he's telling you exactly what's in it. He did this for the UFC. Okay, so this is a fact. See, this is a fact. This is not something you can argue. You can't refute. If you're going to argue this, then, I mean, there's no need to have a discussion. It's just no need to have any discussion. That's a fact. Okay, now, let's read on to what else happens. We're going to go in more depth into what he says, okay? All this stuff, he's talking about team sports, and, he's talking about what a UFC isn't a team sport. Let's skip all that, okay? Then he's talking about, MMA was safer than boxing. Well, that's up for debate. See, that's his opinion, okay? He claims that, so that's an opinion. Now, okay, I do agree with him on this, okay? Make sure the two fighters who enter the octagon are evenly matched. Yeah, boy, Lorenzo, boy, they always taking shots at boxing, okay? And Lorenzo went in on boxing. God, dog. But let's go ahead and get back to it, man. Okay. Now, here's something that I find interesting, okay? The UFC is actually funding its own study in conjunction with the Lou Ruvo Center for Brain Health in Las Vegas. Now, that's pretty interesting, okay? Now, this was 5 years ago. So, of course, the 5-year studies and research, that still is ongoing. But that's a fact. So, the UFC, they've invested a lot of time and a lot of money into concussion protocols. So, why would they do that? That's right, because you're constantly getting kicked and punched in the head. Guys, do y'all understand that it just makes sense? Like, don't that make sense? And it's so crystal clear, it's right here. They're doing this because they're getting kicked in the head. Okay, Lorenzo says we're not running away from the problem. We're not hiding it, Fertitta said. We're being completely transparent with our athletes and trying to make them understand that, yes, there's certainly a risk going into this thing, But when you do fight for us, we're going to make sure that you have the best medical testing to make sure you go into the octagon safely, and you're going to have the best medical staff on site. Okay, that's Lorenzo Fertitta, end quote. Okay, so now we talk about the head honcho of the UFC, talking about concussions, the protocol. You know what, like, okay, that's a fact. Now let's look at ESPN, the number one sports leader. Okay, now they have a discussion about the concussion protocol. Okay, let's go down to MMA. They got boxing, they got MMA. Let's go to MMA. Okay, it says, not exactly. MMA promotions don't have injury protocols and for the most part don't regulate themselves in that way. Okay, now keep listening. State, provincial, and tribal athletic commissions regulate and sanction mixed martial arts events. When a fighter gets a head injury or another kind of injury in a bout, the ringside physicians will administer a medical suspension. So, in this happens in the UFC. Okay, they do this in the UFC. You've seen doctors stop the bout, and then next thing you know, you're hearing on the news they get a suspension. This is what they do. Okay. So I don't know. Mark Raimondi kind of, I don't know. He contradicts himself. But when a fighter gets a head injury or another kind of injury in a bout, the ringside physicians will administer a medical suspension. The severity of the injury will determine the length of such suspension. Usually a fighter who is knocked out gets anywhere from a 30-day suspension to a 6-month suspension. Guys, do you guys see this? Here it is right here. I'm pointing it out to you. I'm pointing it out to you because if you can't see that, I don't know what else to tell you. Okay, I don't know what else I got to say to you. Okay, I don't know what else I got. Usually a fighter who is knocked out gets anywhere from a 30-day suspension to a 6-month suspension. That's a fact. That's a fact. That is a straight up fact. Whether you want to, whether you like it or not, it's a fact. Okay, it is what it is. If we keep going. Okay, where MMA and boxing runs into troubles, that many injuries, including concussions, happen during training. True. Especially sparring, then it's up to the individual fighter's coach to determine what to do next. Okay, true. And of course, they said when a fighter is concussed during a bout, the commission will impose a suspension. See, guys, are we really, are we reading? I read a lot. And here it is. They impose a suspension, a no contact suspension. Okay, here's what it means. Meaning the fighter in question should not be sparring until the length of time is up. Says the shit right here. Okay? Says it right there. Now, they can't enforce it. They can't enforce it. Where, they don't go in and check to see if the person isn't sparring. They don't go in. Okay? But you better damn well know that if a fighter try to go in there and fight after they've been imposed a medical suspension, you better damn well believe the commission gonna know about it. But they're saying in training and sparring, the commission will have no way to know if you're sparring. They won't know that. But they gonna know if you just take a fight all of a sudden and your suspension ain't up, then there's gonna be repercussions and they're gonna be, there's gonna be fines and all kind of stuff. Okay, guys, I don't know what else to tell you. Okay, fact, Antonina Shevchenko had a 30-day medical suspension in August when Gillian Robertson called her out. So what the fuck does that mean? What does it mean? I mean, could Antonina physically, even if Antonina wanted to get in there and fight, could she get in there and fight? I can't even believe that I got to make this video and break it down, but it's like you have to break it down because people just want to argue about nothing. She didn't duck Gillian Robertson. Matter of fact, why? What? Why would she duck Gillian Robertson? Because she afraid of her superior wrestling? Well, we saw how superior that was. We saw that Saturday, how superior her wrestling was. Okay, here are more facts, okay? Now, when we really delve into a concussion and what it is and what it entails, okay, so now you have people at the University of Toronto, and they're doing their research on concussions. Now, this is back in 2014, okay? This is back in 2014, and remember I showed you the article about Lorenzo Fertitta, okay? And they had been putting pressure on the UFC, especially them, to come up with some kind of concussion protocol. And Lorenzo Fertitta, they were taking heat. Okay, they were taking heat because, I mean, y'all saw all that stuff that was happening, back then, people stomping people while they were on the ground. And, Lorenzo Fertitta, they had to clean this up. They had to go ahead and clean this shit up. And, that's what they did. They got, they got drug testing. They got concussion protocols. They got all this because they were catching so much heat. Well, the University of Toronto, okay, look, they analyzed 7 years of UFC scorecards, okay, when the fight ends in a knockout or a technical knockout. This is what they did. They analyzed 7 years, okay, crazy, okay. And they even suggested, look, now this is what they said. They suggest banning the growing sport among young people and instituting rules at the pro level that limit action at the competitors down, much like the 10-second count in boxing. Okay, they were trying to completely rewrite the script in MMA. They were completely trying to rewrite the script. Like, look, they don't even want young people doing this, man. They don't want young people doing it. They, like they were trying to institute an age. Like, man, they had so many things that they were trying to, instill in MMA that had they been successful, the sport of MMA as we know it wouldn't even exist. When I read this the first time, I said, what? I said, man. But, yeah, they were trying to, get, impose a knockdown. And when a person get knocked down, you count them up. They were trying to change this into boxing 101. Okay, but then they were talking about, I'm going to show you something, though, that really caught my attention. I'm going to show you something, okay, that truly caught my attention. And I'm going to tell you, this is mind-blowing, okay? Hold on, I'll show it to you. Hold on, let's skip down to it. Now, this is something right here that truly caught my attention, okay? So, look, in mixed martial arts, they detected 6.4 knockouts per athlete for every 100 fights. Wow, okay? When the multiple strike TKOs were added, the total of suspected brain injuries climbed to 15.9 athletes per 100 bouts. So that means that if they have 100 fights, then that means that about 16 of the fights, somebody gonna catch a brain injury. Yo, that's like 16%. Guys, that's a high. You know how many fights happen in a year? Like, do you know how many fights happen in a year? Okay, like, seriously, there are a lot of fights that happen in a year. Wow, man. Okay. And then they say, like, or one concussion is like an injury in like 32% of the matches. Guys, that's high. That's a lot of people going home with brain injuries. So this is what put the pressure on Lorenzo Fertitta to institute the concussion protocol, because before they really didn't have anything like that. They really didn't have it. It wasn't mandatory, and fighters could just come back and keep fighting. Like, I'm telling you, in the damn Pride days, man, them jokers, man, they was fighting almost every other damn month. They was fighting, and it wasn't no kind of. And that's why some fighters, when they lose, you actually see that they gone. It's not because they don't want to fight. It's because they actually can't fight. They're physically not able to fight because it's a danger to their health. See, I'm reading this to y'all, and I'm giving y'all facts. Okay, giving y'all facts. Now let's talk about what they say. Okay, this part caught my attention too. Analysis of the fight video suggested that 90% of the TKOs were a result of repetitive strikes. That's, and that's true. Okay. Causing a sustained, characterized by the losing competitor sustaining a flurry of multiple strikes to the head, said the study. Guys, when y'all see somebody get TKO, that means that about 16 out of every 100 fights, that person finna go home with a brain injury. And that's why when a person been hit in the head multiple times, that's why they go, that's why they actually go to the hospital to check, to get a CT scan. I mean, I can tell you some female fighters who've been concussed. Holly Holm got concussed when Amanda Nunes knocked her out. Betchko Hare got concussed when Marion Renault hit her. Betchko Hare got another concussion when Holly Holm knocked her out. Carla Esparza got concussed when Joanna hit her repetitively. Okay, Alexa Grasso got concussed. Jamie Thornton got concussed when Sabina Mazo head kicked her. I mean, guys, y'all know that it's real. Concussions are real. They're real. Okay, it's nothing to play with. And that's why the UFC started to do this concussion protocol. That's why. But I'm going to show y'all something else. Okay, check this out. It says half of the knockouts occur because of blows to the mandible or lower jaw. Okay, you got hit on the chin. And the researchers found that an average of 2.6 head strikes after a knockout inflicted on unconscious fighters. So that means that when a person, you put them to sleep, and they go for the ride and they go to sleep and they on that ground, that person getting hit about two to three more times after they've been knocked out. Okay, and that's almost like look, the referee ain't stopping the fight fast enough. Well, you got to finish him. That's been an MMA thing. You got to finish him. You got to put him out. The person is knocked out. You got to close the show. You got to get on there. You got to hit him until the referee stop. Okay, guys, I never even thought about that. Like, a person is getting hit 3 more times in the head when they knocked out. Okay, now it says evidence shows that injuries can result in structural damage to the brain, chronic traumatic I can't even pronounce. I know what it is. I can't pronounce the word. Encephalopathy. Okay, sometimes known as boxer's dementia. Okay, makes a strong argument that MMA should be banned for youth and made safer for professionals, the researchers say. And I told y'all, they was talking about having a rule where it would halt the bout at least temporarily after the competitors knocked down and require mandatory imaging scans of fighters who suffered knockouts, TKOs, they say. And I think the UFC, they took it a step further. If the doctor has determined that you've been punched and hit in the head multiple times, guess what the doctors do? They go ahead and they order a CT scan for you. They send you to the hospital anyway. Okay, and I've seen fights end like that. Okay, I've seen it happen. And it's crazy, man. It's crazy. So, I mean, did Antonina duck? Did she duck Gillian Robertson? I mean, guys, come on. According to the concussion protocol, she did not. According to the concussion protocol, she didn't. I don't even know why. I don't even know why I had to go into all that detail. But the fact is, she sustained a concussion when she fought Caitlin Chikagian. That's a fact. That's a fact. That's already been verified. That's already been cleared. It's a fact. This woman took multiple elbows to the head, and she got a concussion. It is what it is. Antonina got a CT scan. She got a concussion. Concussion protocol. There it is. So, I mean, it is what it is, y'all. The facts are there. Like, okay. So you saying that a fighter can just go ahead and, I'll take the fight. I got a concussion. I'm going to go against the doctor's wishes. The UFC, I don't know. I don't think they want to get those sanctions and fines for letting a concussed fighter that haven't been cleared. And by the way, in order to come back, you have to be cleared. You have to be medically cleared to fight. She wasn't medically cleared to fight. It is what it is.